Hey, hi, hello, welcome to the video. My name is Carrie, thank you for being here. We're gonna be conquering some fears, getting over some mental blocks. We're gonna be writing a short story. So let me set the scene. Let me move you, actually, just a little bit. I have talked about writing before on this channel. I love to write. As of now, I don't have any strong desire to be a published author. I just like writing for myself, and it it's a double-edged sword. It sort of takes over my life. Actually, just last night, I knew I was going to be filming this, and I worked a little bit on my story last night, so I couldn't sleep well because I was just dreaming of the story, dialogue, setting, anything. I was just once my brain hooks onto something, it doesn't like to let it go. So I'm absolutely the person who would get in a car accident because I'm trying to type something down on my notes app because I have a sudden idea. It kind of makes me like a worse partner. Like Kurt will be talking to me and I will just my eyes will glaze over and I will be working on writing in my head. So this is why I kind of pick it up and put it down, because it's an all-consuming kind of thing for me. But what I have never done, at least in recent decades, I think maybe as a little kid, I know I submitted short stories to contests at the library and stuff. But as of recently, let's just say, I haven't finished a project. I can start things. I'm not going to open my Scrivener, but I was just playing around with an idea I had for a novel, not even a short story, and I have an obscene word count. I wrote a chunk but I just can't finish things, and I just want to do that. I want to get to that stage in my writing where I can write a first draft, edit, write a second draft, get to a point where I'm okay, this can stand on its own. That's what we're going to try to do. I'm giving myself 2.5 weeks to write a short story. It's something that's been brewing in my head for a while. I'm going to have you guys watch me to hold me accountable. I don't know if I'll share the whole thing, hoping I finish it. I don't know if I'll share the whole thing, but you can just be a fly on the wall, make sure I keep working. But what I was trying to do last night, as I was kind of setting everything up, we're gonna be heavily, especially in the beginning of this video, heavily relying on Milanote for all of my kind of structuring and things like that. So I want to give them a shout out. They actually sponsored this video. Thank you so much. Milanote is a wonderful service that helps you organize any kind of creative project. I'm using it specifically for writing, but they have really amazing templates for other things, like if you're doing film, if you're working on other kinds of projects. But for writing, I will show you. They have templates that help you with character outlines, with setting up if you want to use the 3-act structure, brainstorming, mood boarding. I'm kind of using the outline template. They also have ways to just generally organize your novel with character outline, plot outline, things like that. Within that, you can create boards. It's drag and drop. It's so easy to use, really intuitive for someone who is not very techy. So I actually already had a mood board going for when I first kind of came across this idea of a story. So I actually already had that ready on Milanote. And so last night, I focused heavily on my short story outline. I have divided it into kind of 4 parts, and I'm just gonna kind of dive in. So if you'd like to try Milanote, highly recommend. It's really just so fun. It made me excited to write. It also helped me think about things I wouldn't normally think about, in terms of with the character outline, adding certain things to really flesh out your characters, etc. It's not only helpful with kind of organizing, and especially if you're a visual person, getting your ideas in a way that you can easily see them, but it actually helps you, I found, organize your thoughts a lot better. So yeah, I will have a link in the description box. You can use that to sign up for Milanote for free. Just highly recommend. Even if you aren't a writer, check out the templates. It's a great time. And I spent a lot of last night, mainly on YouTube, looking up people's advice for writing short stories. There's a lot of great work on there, and I'll kind of share more of that a little bit later, because I honestly just want to get out of this house and get writing. I have had the first few words on the tip of my tongue. I just want to get them down. So we're gonna go get coffee. I'm gonna try and find the one cafe that isn't super noisy in my neighborhood. All the cafes around me love to have their volume up to 11 and playing music that just isn't good for concentration. So we're gonna try and pick the quietest one, and let's just write. Oh, I've missed it. Okay. Thank you again so much to Mila Note. All that information will be down below. Oh, let's go. And we're back. So, hello, test. Hold on. Well, now my room is gonna smell amazing. No worries, just a little mint tea bath for my floor. Updates. I got to the cafe around, I'm gonna say 9:20, and I left at 11. And I managed to hit a little over 800 words. I really struggled in the beginning because I thought I had the first words. You know how everything just sounds better in your head? So I like really had this great opening, and then as I was trying to actually get it down, I realized, no, not really that great. So I had to kind of just work through that. I think that what actually accomplished writers will tell you is that the first draft needs to be crap. Like, it just needs to be. You have to get the words out onto paper, and that's when the real work comes in, where you can edit, get to where you want the story to really go and how you really want it to feel. I don't really consider myself a perfectionist. I like to get things done well, but I don't need something to be perfect. But for some reason, writing to me, it just feels different. Like I can kind of shitpost. I used to like post on Tumblr, writing like little bits of it and stuff, but when it comes to actually trying to tell a story, I freeze. And that's kind of what I meant in the beginning when I said we're going to be conquering some fears. Is I think one thing that was holding me back from writing a short story, because what's holding me back from writing a novel is that writing a novel is really difficult. I think it's better to start small. And what was holding me back from writing a short story was this, not, fear is a strong word, but more of like a, insecurity isn't quite the right word either. I just felt like if I'm gonna write something, it should be good. Like, it should be a great story. And that mentality is only hurting myself, because you can't get better in your craft. You can't learn to write by not writing. You have to kind of write crap. And one of the videos I was watching last night was talking about how you need to write so that you can get all of the cliches out of the way. You know, you need to just kind of write junk and it will teach you what's good, what's bad. It helps you find your voice, helps you find how you like to plot ahead of time. Do you like to just let it flow out of you, kind of thing? You can't do that by not writing. And I just really didn't want to write a story without it being a story I'm like really proud of. I'm actually, and ironically, now that I've kind of workshopped this idea, I really like this idea. I really like this story. So it just kind of sat on the back burner because I had a lack of faith in it or in me. And now that I'm actually doing it, I'm feeling a lot better. But yeah, it's like paralyzing that you want to do something so badly, but you want to do it well, and you can't do it well until you fail at it a lot of times. And I just don't like doing that. And it's so annoying because I say that all the time for people who want to start YouTube. You can't find your style and you can't get better at YouTube or, filming and editing without filming and editing. So many of my old videos are privated because I just don't like them anymore. They're clearly I was someone just fumbling around. And now I feel a little bit more confident in what I do, and that only is because I've been doing it for years. So yeah, I'm writing. I wrote the first part. I really think that I outlined it well. I also think, honestly, writing a short story is so much better for me because it forces me to be a little bit more exact with the freedom of something as long as a novel or potentially reaching into a multi-book series. My brain is just like, let's go. And I just will write stuff that I write myself away from the plot, and it's a mess. And so with a short story, I'm being really conscious of like each plot point and what needs to be said. And it's been actually really fun. So with my outline, like I said, I kind of separated it into 4 parts currently. It is incredibly loosely, so loosely based on a kind of folk tale I heard about Lake Bled. So I went to Slovenia with my family in September, October of last year. Lake Bled is just, it looks like it came out of a fairy tale. I was just kind of fascinated. I'm always fascinated by like little islands in a lake. I've always been that way. Like, I think I grew up with a lot of, I talked about it recently, but like so many survival stories of like kids going into the wilderness or being thrown into the wilderness and having to survive on their own, usually on an island. And so whenever I see like in a river or in a lake, this little tiny island, I'm always like, man, I would love to swim there and just live there. Like, just get away from everything and find a way to survive on this tiny island. Lake Bled has this tiny island in it. It's the only island in Slovenia. Fun fact. All it is a church. It's got this giant staircase and this church that's kind of 2 buildings. It has a bell tower that there's a legend that if you ring it, your wishes come true. And the water is just an obscene color blue. Like, just it doesn't look real. You can swim there, you can rent a rowboat and go there, you can have someone else row you there, which is what we did. Such a magical place. So magical. And so when I was researching it, I like blink and you miss it. Like, I really didn't read into it that much. So that's why I'm saying loosely based. But I believe there's kind of a legend that something to do with fairies either flooding, like creating the lake, something like that, where they kind of cut themselves off from humanity there. So it's kind of a borderland or a boundary between fairy and the humans. And as I was staying there, we stayed there for a couple nights, I just kept having this image of the bells ringing in the middle of the night. And I don't think anyone's on that island at night. And I just couldn't get that out of my head. Like, what would happen if you just like living in this sleepy little town and you know that that island's abandoned and you just hear the bells going off? Like, what story could erupt from that? And so that's kind of the thread that I've been following. And I already have it pretty vaguely plotted. And because of that outline and that idea, I was able to write the first part pretty confidently. Like, I had to get over that bum of, oh my God, the first line that I had in my head is crap. But getting to the 300 word count was bumpy. But getting from 300 to 800 was like, I didn't even notice I wrote anything. I was just going at it. Yeah, that was really great. I'm very proud of myself. I didn't expect to really get that much down. And I stopped myself intentionally right there because I'm the kind of person that if I allowed my mind to wander further through the plot, I would start writing, not even writing scenes that are further away than where I should be. I write lines, or I write tiny little words that end up not making any sense to me later, or like the plot as I'm writing it has veered so far away that I can't come back to that idea anyway, and I don't really want to anymore, and it ends up just making me feel stressed. And like, I don't know. So I'm trying to actually write it chronologically this time, or write it, you know, as it is to be published, rather than jumping scene by scene for now. And I'm just happy to have stopped at kind of the first scene. And so what did I try to accomplish with the first act? So this is a fantasy, right? So I wanted to make sure that that was obvious from the jump. I also wanted to obviously introduce my character, but more importantly, I wanted to introduce what is driving her in this first part. She's going to make a kind of irrational decision, and I wanted to rationalize it and make sure that people knew why. I wanted to introduce kind of the legend of the bells and the veil and the fairies. I wanted to make sure that we knew kind of what kind of character she is. She's an older sister. And then in terms of her reasoning for doing irrational things, she cares about her sister. Her sister is sick. I wanted to make sure that people understood that she's desperate, and it's kind of this last-ditch effort to help her sister, and she's willing to be irrational. Yeah, that's just what I wanted. And then she, you know, makes the decision and embarks on her journey. So that's what I wrote this morning. And yeah, I have parts of it that I'm not happy with at all. Very much like I wrote that sentence, I wrote it and I was like, we're coming back to you. Like, that is not a sentence that I ever want to see ever again. So it's imperfect, but the idea, the structure, the flow is there. I know that now I can return to those bones and flesh them out. So yeah, I'm just, wow, I mean, beginner's luck. I'm very proud of what I've done. I'm gonna drink my tea. I've got some work to do today. But yeah, that all took place within, let's say, 2 hours. Yeah. Fun. And I like very intentionally didn't name anything. Like, I've got the names of 3 people who have been introduced, and that's it. I sat for a good 5 minutes thinking of what I wanted to name the town, and I was like, you know what? Doesn't need a name. And if it does, I can come back to it. But I've mentioned it before in previous writing vlogs, but I'm the kind of person that I will not move forward if I can't find like the perfect name for something. I get so hung up. So you know what? Doesn't need a name. Doesn't need a name. And that's that. So yeah, wow. I'm very happy, and yeah, I will catch you guys in the next update, but thank you for being along for the ride, and see you when I see ya. Okay, my friends, we are back. Day 3 of writing. I just cracked 2,000 words, and when I was writing my previous projects, I could hit 2,000 words no problem, like just zip, busting stuff out. Like I said, I also would jump like scene to scene. I had so many ideas, so I would just kind of write everything down like crazy, and then I would end up with kind of a jigsaw puzzle that I don't have the skills to put together. Or like, for example, I would write a scene that was like quite deeper into the plot, and then by the time I got there, it wouldn't work. Or I would find myself limiting myself, trying so hard to get there that I ended up kind of just not letting the plot kind of flow naturally, stuff like that. So what I've been doing is I have been writing slower, sparser, more sparsely. And I've also been stopping intentionally. I just love the act of writing. So I would often just write, and then I would be kind of empty. And so when the next day came and I wanted to continue writing, I didn't have something, right? Like just logically, I didn't have like the next step planned, or I would stop at a point where I felt frustrated. And so then the next day when you go to sit down with your project, you're still at the frustrating part. So what I've been doing now is I've kind of got it mapped in terms of like beats that I want to hit. I have it relatively in my head and I try to just get to the next beat and then I stop. I don't then continue like, oh, I'm so inspired, I'm just gonna keep writing, and then stop when I hit a wall. I stop when I still have more to give. I obviously like jot down little notes of what I want to work on the next day, but that so far has been helping me. And also another thing, especially I noticed it most today, and I've noticed it in previous work, you hit this kind of hill where it's like, I have a really hard time where like I get started and then I just hit this wall of like, oh, it's just suddenly the words aren't quite coming, and how do I get from point A to point B? And it feels really just, it sucks basically. But so for me to get, like today, for me to get to 1,300 words to 1,400 words, those 100 words were so difficult to get out. But then once I hit 1,400, zipping to 2,000, I didn't even have to think about. Like you just have to get over this weird hump and then it's like, oh, there was the story. Where was it when I needed it most? So yeah, I feel like for me, this exercise, and I know this video has only been 3 days, but I'm also pulling from like all of my previous experience. Things that seem to work for me. Number 1, stopping before you are empty. Number 2, write in the mornings before you do anything else. My God. So on the 25th, if you just saw me sadly putting out what? I think I wrote like 200 words. I do it in the morning or not at all. It's almost like when my brain enters the real world too much, it's difficult for me to get into my fictional world. But when I just wake up, I'm like, okay, I get dressed, I make a little breakfast, I head outside. I haven't really had a lot of real world thoughts. I try not to check my phone. And I just go and I work. That's when I can just easily slip into my story. And I'm also trying a lot harder this time to really not give a shit about my first draft, which is such a work in progress. But there are lines where I'm like, okay, that is so telly, so telly. I'm trying my best to avoid it in my first draft, but sometimes I'm like, you know what? I want to say this sentence in a different way, but I don't quite know how yet. So that's something I can return to, but like we need to just get it out. And so I know that reading it, it's not perfect, but it at least gets what I'm trying to say on the page. And then once that's all out, we can zhuzh it up. We can make it sparkle. And yeah, I feel like weirdly putting all of these limits on myself, like a page limit. I'm aiming, I don't really have a page limit, but like I'm not trying to write a novel, right? I'm trying to keep it short. So having a general shorter limit for how the story is going to unfold has really helped me. Again, setting a limit in terms of where I stop during the day. This, more than anything, rather than creating a story that I'm going to be really proud of, this is just really helping me learn my writing style. Not like writing as in the actual words on the page, how they sound, but genuinely like the act of writing. So yeah, this has been really great. I'm gonna continue. This isn't the end of the video, but yeah, I just wanted to sit down, give an update, and I hope that this inspires you. I talked about it kind of in the beginning of this video, but it's just ironic that with all of my other hobbies, I talk about it more on my vlogging channel. I'm a huge believer in being mediocre. You don't have to be the best at things. So like with my guitar, I'm not gonna be a world great. I'm not gonna be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but it's still fun to tinker with. When I draw, when I do like other creative things, I'm okay with being meh, you know? Just the act of doing it is fun, but for some reason with writing, I put writing on such a pedestal. But yeah, I hope that this inspires you to be okay with being mediocre and just enjoying the act of writing for writing. And yeah, anyway, I've got a busy day today and I have now learned that I will not be writing after noon. So my writing time has expired. I will see you guys soon. I think I'm not sure if I'll have time tomorrow, just because it is spring in Seoul now and I will have to be running around and meeting a lot of friends. So I said I wanted to finish my first draft by April 1st. That's not happening. So we'll see. I'll check in with you when I can. Okay. Thank you for being along on the ride. See you at the next chapter. A quick check-in from April 3rd. Skipped a couple days because I had other work to do. And then I got sick, but I'm okay. And I wrote a bit today. I deleted some. I went back and I read what I had written and I kind of like edited a little bit. Hello, where's my word count? I wrote about 500 words. I went from 2,500 to basically 3,000, I guess. And you know what saved me? Because I was a little bit stuck or I was feeling a little stale. I switched POVs for a second. And also, you know what is something that I really struggle with and that I think working on short stories makes you have to just be really hard on yourself. I love to finish a scene. Like if I could be with my characters the entire time, like if the book takes place over the course of like a week, if I could have every single waking moment with my characters, I would. But that just it isn't good for a reading experience. So especially when they're like having a conversation, I want, as like the creator of them, right? I want to hear every single thing they have to say. I'm so invested in my little children. The audience doesn't need to see hear every single word that they say. And so I just have to cut things. And so that's what I did. I was kind of stuck at how do I get them from this conversation to like, let's get it going, guys. Like, let's move on to the next thing. I just was like, yeah, that's where the conversation ends. And then in the next scene, I was able to, give enough context that we know how the conversation ended. They're on their way to the next part of the plot. And it's fine. And I just need to get better at that. Letting go, letting things go unsaid, or letting things go said off the page, off screen, I'm about, I would say, like halfway done in terms of where we are in the plot. I would say more like a third of the way done, and I'm proud of myself for what I've written. But anyway, yeah, that was just my check-in. I'll catch you guys in a little bit. I gotta go get dinner, but see ya. And welcome back to the final installation. Did she finish her story? No. No, not even close. In the time I have given myself, I have gotten to about, I would say, the halfway point. I have written now, because I went back and I deleted a lot. Hold on. I've been doing a lot of editing. I'm currently sitting at 3,050 words. I'm just having a really great time. Actually, so when I last left you, I was heading out to meet up with a new friend who is a writer, KX Song. I have, it's too far away, but she passed me some physicals of her books, but before I even knew her, I read an arc of her first fantasy and really enjoyed it. So to be able to we had a mutual friend, so it was like the world is so small. To finally sit down and talk to her about writing while I was in the kind of writing era was just so great. And she had a lot of similar struggles, but she had so many good tips and things like that. And I just think that talking to people about writing, even if you're not in the process of writing something, is just so inspiring and helpful. So if nothing else, this video, I think, hopefully for you as well, but for me, really, like, just sitting down and trying to articulate my thoughts about writing has, in a way, helped me write. And one thing that just kind of came to my mind, I guess, while I was working on this and thinking about just other things in my life, I just kept coming back to this idea that this culture of sharing our lives is kind of hurting our creativity in a way. I know that I just said like, wow, wasn't this so helpful? And I hope it helps you. But in terms of when I want to do something creative, I often feel scared to even bother to do things because I don't want it to be perceived. There's this fear of judgment or fear of being perceived that I feel like keeps me from doing even the simplest things. So I don't really mind sharing random stuff on the internet, especially when I had like no following. I didn't mind posting like poetry or whatever. Just like, I didn't mind posting that like on Tumblr or whatever because I knew no one would really see it. But I think that the more that you realize people are capable of seeing things, the more that you get a little scared to share things. And it's silly because you don't have to share things. I think that I try to be brave and share as much as possible just to show other people, like I mentioned previously, like it's okay to be not great at something. So, you know, I've shared my guitar playing, I've shared a bit of my writing, things like that. But I feel like I should still remember to maintain some things just for me because it really holds me back from even trying, you know? Yeah, I just wanted to put that out there for you. Please still try things and just keep it for yourself. But I feel like if you watched this video, you're expecting a little taste of something. So I'll read you a little. Please remember that a lot of this I want to change. Yeah, like even the whole second sentence, I hate it. It has the feeling that I want, but it doesn't have the words that I want. And talking to my author friend about it, she was like, yeah, you just gotta get it out. And that's what I'm doing. So I will read you the first 2 paragraphs, I suppose, and just know that the words aren't right. The words aren't right. So here we go. Oh my God. Oh, this is weird to read my own writing. Okay. Here we go. The bells were ringing again. The 2 church bells call out from their home on the hour, on birthdays. They ring to warn of thunderstorms, to congratulate newlyweds who shared their vows in the chapel beneath the bell tower. Sometimes, Ellen would tell her sister Rose, they rang simply because they felt like it. But the bells didn't ring at night. Carlisle, the groundskeeper of the little island where the bells are housed, takes his rickety boat back to his husband a few minutes before sunset each day, locking the short iron gate more out of habit than necessity, and leaves the island to sit empty and alone until morning. Even young lovers and curious children know not to venture there in the inky dark, no matter how bright the moon might shine. Yeah, so what happens when the bells are ringing in the middle of the night? I wonder, and that's the journey we go on. So yeah, I'm really happy with what I've written. I have about 8 pages. I'm happy to just kind of keep playing around with this. I haven't been able to sit down as much as I wanted just because work, now that spring has finally started, work has picked up a little bit. Will I give you updates on this? Don't expect any. I don't want to put any pressure on myself. I'm having fun. I'm just gonna try to protect that love of writing. And yeah, so one day perhaps you will meet Ellen. For now, that's what you get. And this was a really fun exercise. I really encourage you, once again, like, you can't get better unless you're writing. So like, this isn't the story that I'm dying to tell. It's really just a fun exercise. And so yeah, I just highly encourage you to write something and just learn your style and learn, as this one person said, and I think I mentioned him before, but I was watching a video about like tips for writers, and basically he was like, you need to write so you can get the cliches out of your system. And I feel like this is really helping. So yeah, I just highly encourage you to write, to play around with even just mood boarding, structuring a story, coming up with character profiles. Like there's so many things you can do that are just so fun, and they don't need to become a published work, right? You can just do it for fun. So thank you once again to Milanote. Really, again, play around with all of those templates. It's so easy and fun. I will have a link down below that you can use to try Milanote for free. And yeah, just thank you for being on this journey and listening to my rambling. And I hope that this sparked any ideas for you or inspired you to finally sit down and just put some words out there. And yeah, I will catch you guys next time. Thank you as always. Yeah, I'm in the middle actually of reading a really good book that I can't wait to talk to you about. I've read 2 good books back to back, hoping that continues. And I'm doing kind of a live reading vlog of that. So I'll see you next week for that. Good news all around. And yeah, love to you always. Okay, good luck on any of your projects. See you later. Bye.